The sun dipped low over Ridgewood, casting amber hues across the bustling city. Daniel Carter gripped the wheel of his sedan, eager to leave the day's weight behind. His mind was filled with unresolved cases and the silent burden of expectations that came with being the director of internal affairs. The familiar hum of the engine soothed him as the city's heartbeat played out in the background. Behind him, a police cruiser's lights pierced the fading daylight. Daniel's stomach tightened, but his expression remained calm. Pulling over to the side, he adjusted his rearview mirror and saw Officer Jake Harding step out of the car. Jake's posture radiated authority, his hand resting lightly on his belt. As Jake approached, Daniel steadied his breathing, bracing for what was to come. "License and registration," Jake said curtly, his eyes scanning Daniel's suit and polished demeanor with a mix of suspicion and contempt. Daniel handed over the requested items. "May I ask why I've been stopped, officer?" His voice was calm, measured, the voice of someone used to staying in control. Jake's lip curled slightly. "You didn't come to a complete stop at the light back there." Daniel's brows knitted briefly. "I slowed down, but if I missed the mark, I understand." Jake's gaze narrowed, his body language stiffening. "You're not from around here, are you?" "I moved here a few months ago," Daniel replied. "My address is listed on my license." The words seemed to irritate Jake further. "Where are you headed in such a hurry?" "Home," Daniel said simply. His even tone and lack of nervousness only seemed to stoke Jake's suspicion. Jake's tone sharpened. "Step out of the car for me." Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel for a brief moment before he released them. "Is there a specific reason, officer?" "Just do as I say," Jake snapped, the tension in his voice rising. The unspoken threat hung in the air. Daniel exhaled slowly and stepped out, his tailored suit catching the fading sunlight. Jake's gaze darted over him, taking in the details of his appearance but dismissing them just as quickly. "Hands on the hood," Jake ordered, his voice tinged with authority. Daniel complied, his movements deliberate. "Are you looking for something specific?" he asked, his tone firm but respectful. Jake's smirk was faint but noticeable. "Routine check. We've had incidents in the area." "Incidents involving men in business suits driving sedans?" Daniel countered, his calm voice cutting through Jake's veneer of control. The search turned up nothing, but Jake's frustration was evident. He stepped back, arms crossed. "You seem awfully familiar with how this works. Got something to hide?" Daniel straightened, turning to face Jake. "No, officer. I just believe in transparency during interactions like this." Jake scoffed. "You think you're smarter than me? That you can talk your way out of this?" Daniel met Jake's gaze, his expression unwavering. "Officer, I think it's time you know who I am." Jake rolled his eyes. "I don't care who you are." Daniel reached into his pocket slowly. "I'm reaching for my badge." The warning tone in his voice made Jake's hand twitch near his holster. Daniel pulled out his ID wallet and flipped it open, revealing a gold badge that gleamed in the dim light. "Daniel Carter, Director of Internal Affairs." Jake's face drained of color. His confidence faltered, replaced by visible unease. Jake stammered, searching for words. "I didn't realize that I knew my rights?" Daniel interjected. His tone was calm, but his words carried weight. "Or that your behavior was unjustified?" Jake's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Daniel continued. "You assumed, Officer Harding. And those assumptions have consequences." The encounter sparked a fire in Daniel. The next day, he reviewed Jake's file, finding a pattern of minor misconduct that had been ignored. Daniel's resolve hardened. This wasn't just about Jake. It was about a system that enabled such behavior. At a meeting with Police Chief Alan Green, Daniel laid out his case. "We need to address the root causes of these issues. Training isn't enough. We need accountability and transparency." Chief Green frowned. "You're proposing a department-wide review? That'll ruffle a lot of feathers." "Good," Daniel replied. "It's time we ruffled some feathers." Public forums were held to hear from the community. One evening, a young mother tearfully recounted an unjust traffic stop that left her children terrified. Another man shared how a similar encounter cost him his job. Daniel listened intently, his heart heavy but his resolve unshaken. "We can't undo the past," he told the crowd. "But we can ensure a better future." Jake's internal hearing was tense. He avoided Daniel's gaze as the evidence against him mounted. "This isn't just about one officer," Daniel said, addressing the panel. "It's about the culture we've allowed to flourish." Jake's suspension was inevitable, but Daniel's focus had already shifted to broader reforms. Months of hard work bore fruit. New training programs emphasized empathy, while officers engaged in community-building exercises. Transparency became a cornerstone of the department. At a ceremony for new recruits, Daniel addressed them. "The badge doesn't make you better than anyone," he said. "It makes you accountable to everyone." The final chapter saw Daniel at a community event, surrounded by faces once marked by fear but now hopeful. "Justice isn't about power," he said from the podium. "It's about fairness. Together, we're building a better tomorrow." The applause was thunderous, a testament to the change that had begun. For Daniel, the journey was far from over, but the seeds of progress had been sown.